guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic, and welcome back to the channel. And today, for you guys, this is another MCU review. Today we're tackling Marvel's What If Season 2. Next up will, of course, be Deadpool and Wolverine, kind of like a re-review of that, but right now we're tackling What If. This is a weird one, right? Because, you know, season... most people are like, there's a Season 2? Well, there's a Season 3 also, and we're going to get to that eventually. But What If is kind of that weird Marvel series that's just kind of like there, you know what I mean? No, not for me, but for a lot of people are like, oh, there's an animated show. Is that the kid one? Is that the one for the babies? It's like, no, like if this is a animated show, yes, not for babies. It is rated TV 14. The same rating as a PG-13 movie. So it's literally the same content you would get if you watch a PG-13 film. But yeah, it's great. It's a really, really good show. Season 1 was pretty great, I think. And Season 2, we'll see how that holds up. But yeah, regarding this, right, what is What If, right? This is basically a anthology animated TV show where you have different characters from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, of course, kind of going on different what-if style scenarios, right? What if, what was the first one? What if Nebula joined the Ravagers, for example, right? There's a lot of different things like that. That's the first one. And these are canon, right? Even though they're multiversal stories, we're in the multiverse saga, right? These are still canonical, just in a different multiverse. Kind of like the new Fantastic Four film, stuff like that, right? Logan, whatnot. And yeah, so we're just going to kind of go through each one and just kind of, I'll briefly give you my thoughts and then we'll kind of give this an overall score. Anyway, what if Nebula joined the Ravagers? So this is, of course, Nebula from Guardians of the Galaxy, kind of teaming up with the Ravagers, the Guardians of the Galaxy group, you know, what's his face, Yondu and, you know, those people. And it's good. It's a good, like, crime mystery noir kind of thriller episode where Nebula kind of gets to shine, right, which is really cool. The voice actors for this, most of them return, so that's cool. The ones that don't, some of them sound good, some of them sound like poop, but actually, Karen Gillian, maybe? Karen? I don't know, someone that, you know, the Jumanji chick, she's back in this one, and she does a good job playing Nebula. I think Nebula is a really good character in the MCU, and I think seeing her in a different light, not really be a hero, but more, you know, not just pissed off of Gamora 24/7, right? Having her actually do something unique, and have like a kind of like a character arc, so to speak, and have like a turnaround, right, is kind of really cool. And I think that police, almost, you know, investigation style format is actually pretty good with her character, and it works out really great. Again, it's kind of like a cyberpunk-esque noir style of episode, and I think it works out pretty good. So I'd give probably that one from, you know, 0 to a 10. I don't know, I'll probably give it like an 8.5 or a 9. Nothing really horrible about it, right? I thought it was pretty good. What if Peter Quill attacked someone? What is that someone? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here we go. What if Peter Quill attacked Earth's mightiest heroes? So, obviously, Peter Quill as a child. I'm looking at these on my phone, by the way. Peter Quill as a child, obviously going AWOL. Kind of like the movie Brightburn, if you've seen that movie with, like, the evil kid, Superman kid. It's kind of like that. But, obviously, the MCU version, and it's not gory and R-rated, but sometimes kind of close, right? Peter Quill is kind of a crazy kid, and he kind of goes on this crazy rampage and all that, really just to kind of find ego, so to speak, right, and kind of end his schemes. And the MCU, the Avengers and all that, you're right, the good guys, they kind of blame Peter for doing these horrific things and blowing stuff up and going crazy. And yeah, he does blow stuff up, and he does go crazy, but really he's just kind of a wayward kid trying to, you know, get back at his dad, Ego the Living Planet, who's a dude. So it's a long story, but it's pretty effing good, you know what I mean? It's crazy, and it's cool to see Peter Quill kind of as a kid for, you know, longer than 18 seconds in that first film, and to kind of go through this process of, okay, you know, he meets, I believe, Hope, and, like, Child Hope, right? And it's cool to see a lot of the voice actors come back, Happy Hogan, of course, Hank Pym, and the Giant Man, whatever his name was, the other guy from Ant-Man and the Wasp. A lot of these characters return, and it's pretty cool, you know what I mean? It's cool to see them, obviously, voicing their characters. And Peter Quill's cool. You know, he's doing a lot of crazy stuff, and again, there is that story where you're like, all right, Peter is doing this, but why? And then we find out that why, and it's kind of interesting to see, you know, how Hope reacts and how the other Avengers react to this kid going crazy, blowing stuff up. And we kind of, again, I don't want to ruin all of it, but it kind of ends on a pretty cool note, you know what I mean, with like a really awesome battle between Peter and a person. And yeah, I thought it was actually pretty interesting. So I'm gonna give that one probably like an 8. You know, it's not maybe as thematically important as the Nebula one, but it's still pretty cool. nonetheless. What Ifs, Episode 3, Happy Hogan Saved Christmas. So this is the, I want to say like the first MCU Christmas special. Now, I know we got the Hawkeye show, which was kind of set during Christmas, but this one is straight up just like, it's a Christmas episode. They got like a song in there or whatever. They got references. Happy Hogan turns into the freaking amazing Bulk, I guess, right? The big purple guy. Not Barney, the other guy. And it's cool. You know, Happy's funny as always, and Tony Stark's there, voiced, I gotta say, I know I'm kind of, if you noticed, I'm not sick. I'm a teacher, so Hogwarts is, I talk for like 8 hours straight, so if I sound like deaf, I'm not dying. But the Tony Stark voice actor in the show is like straight up, like, it's not good. And that's not me on my high horse being like, I'm better than everyone. Like, no, like, it's bad. Like, it is bad. I know I'm a voice actor and I do 50 whatever voices, but it's freaking bad, all right? So, hearing Tony Stark, it's almost there. It's like, hey guys, I'm Tony Stark here, and oh, sorry, what are you? Like, it's too high pitched, right? It's got to be a little deeper, something like this. Travis, play the Christmas songs, something like that, right? A little better. So yeah, anyway, yeah, I mean, listening to that guy's horrible voice for that amount of time is kind of ear grating to me. But the actual episode is good, right? Obviously. Happy Hogan wants to prove that he's a hero, and of course, all that kind of goes haywire when he turns into a big purple guy. But Justin Hammer is back, who is still voiced by Hammer in the MCU. Of course, I believe Sam Rockwell, who was in The Bad Guys and Argyle and some other stuff. He's back, and he does a pretty good performance. He does the signature classic meme-worthy dance, which is interesting. But it's cool to see, different tropes and different Christmas icons and ideas, right, kind of amalgamated, so to speak, in this one era of a Christmas special. And it's cool to see the Avengers party just get completely wrecked, and Darcy plays a role, and, there's a lot of crazy hijinks that ensue, but it's a good episode. It's cool to see Hammer come back. I know it's a what-if multiversal thing, but it is still cool to see, nonetheless. And, I think people got to understand, too, what if, just because it's not in the main MCU universe doesn't mean it's not canon, doesn't mean it doesn't count or it's not official, right? Like, I know some people look at animation with Marvel and especially Star Wars, and they're like, oh, well, that doesn't count. Why? Because it's animated. It's like, no, like, that's just a horrible stigma that has to die. And I think, once people let go of their biases or their hatred toward animation for some weird reason, or, just get past the idea that it's made for a literal fetus, and you actually, freaking sit down and watch it, it's pretty good, what I mean? Is it the best thing ever? No. But it's a good Christmas special to watch if you were, hopefully, in that Christmas, mood last month. I ended up watching it during my break. It was in 2025, but it was after Christmas, so I kind of missed it. I didn't even know they had a Christmas special. I've never seen any of these before, so I kind of missed out on that. But yeah, it was pretty good. Probably give that, like, I don't know, like a 7. Nothing crazy, nothing insane, but it was fun. Episode 4, what if Iron Man crashed into the Grandmaster, or what if that horrible voice actor crashed into the Grandmaster? So obviously Tony Stark from the Avengers film, right, when in that first Avengers movie where he drops that nuke or the bomb or whatever, the missile, and it blows up the Chitauri war ship or whatever, right? And he falls through the portal back to New York. Well, this one he doesn't. He gets trapped in space, and he gets sent to Sakaar, which is where the Grandmaster is. Of course, we've seen that in obviously comics, but in the MCU, we've seen it in Thor Ragnarok, and to see Iron Man in that environment is cool, right? That's interesting. But then Grandmaster returns, played by Jeff Goldblum. He comes back, and he does a pretty funny performance. Korg's there, Valkyrie's there. It's pretty much Thor Ragnarok, but Iron Man's there, and there's a big race. If you've seen the Bad Batch Star Wars show, there's an episode in Season 2 where Tech, one of the clones, is like, doing a not a pod race, but like, a race. It's not as good as that episode, but it is still a good episode, this one, nonetheless. Tony Stark's there, and he just wants to get home. He doesn't want anything to do with Sakaar. He wants to leave, and he kind of has to prove himself in this race and all that, and it ends up, a pretty much Episode 1 Attack of the Phantom Menace and that Bad Batch episode, but Marvel version. It's got jokes, it's got action, it's got funny moments, it's got, of course, an interesting plot with Tony Stark in this, unique environment. Not a whole lot happens, though. Tony Stark just kind of goes through the motions, and he ends up, obviously winning, because, he's not going to not win. But then, you see the end and how he kind of goes back and whatever, and it's fun to a degree, right? I mean, it's nothing mind-breaking good, but it's good, right? There's nothing horrible about it. There's nothing, offensively bad about it, right? It's fine. So I'd probably give it like a 6.5 or a 7, a 6 or 7, something like that. Don't quote me on that I did the meme. Episode 5, What If Captain Carter Fought the Hydra Stomper? This one's cool. So it's Captain Carter, of course, Peggy Carter, but in a different multiverse, right? She is not Captain America, but Captain Carter, right? We've seen her in What If Season 1, this, and of course Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Apparently she's going to be in one of these Avengers films, so that'll be interesting. But this is where the season kind of, I don't want to say it gets bad, but it gets a little cliche and a little tired, right? We all know the classic story. It's not as well known as certain comic book characters' backstories, but obviously, Steve Rogers loves Peggy Carter, and they're almost, never destined to be together, and crazy stuff happens, and then, they're able to be, if you've seen Endgame, you know what happens, but, in certain multiverses, right, they're not always destined to be together, and they want to be, and it's like Romeo and Juliet in a weird way, right? So, in that sense, it's interesting. But then it gets not interesting when you keep doing it, right? Like I feel like this with this What If show, every few, odd episodes we get Captain Carter, and it's cool, right? She's I don't want to say the most well-written character ever, but she's cool. I like her. She's a good character. I would suppose she's not the best, but she's good. I like seeing her, but doesn't help she's hot. But in the fact that I don't care if she's animated, in that fact we get okay, cool, right? She's back, cool. But then she's always. Her motive seems to always be Steve, right? And then we get Steve, right? And it's not Chris Evans, it's Josh Keaton, who sounds pretty much nothing like Steve Rogers. But whatever, all I hear is Green Lantern from Lego Batman. But, we see Steve and we see Peggy, and they want to hook up and do whatever they want to do. And you get that aspect where it's like, cool, but then they can't. And it comes to this conclusion where there's always a scene with Steve having to sacrifice himself or leave, or Peggy having to sacrifice herself and leave, and it's always like this. It's almost getting tired, right? Where I'm watching this and I'm like, oh my god, like Steve's in the Hydra Stomper. Geez, okay, freaking great, right? He's shooting bad guys and Black Widow's here. That's fun, right? They're having some cool fight scenes. But then it always just seems to end with Steve and Peggy looking at each other's eyes, and then one of them has to go, or one of them dies, or something stupid, and you're like, all right, well, sucks to suck, I guess, and then you just move on, right? Like, okay, I feel like we've treaded this ground. Let's do something different. And I do like that Black Widow's here. She's actually a pretty good Scarlett Johansson voice replacement. I I think she does a good job. But obviously, not like my opinion effing matters. But, I think she does a good job. And I think that, Peggy is obviously, good voice actor as well, Haley Atwell. But it's just, I don't know, this one's good. It just gets to this point where I'm like, all right, Steve's here and Peggy's here and they want to be together, and but who cares, right? Like, they can't. We know what's going to happen. And, we'll have to see if that ever gets brought up again. But right now, I think it's kind of almost, I'm not there yet, but I'm very close to the point where I'm like, all right, this is getting tiresome and a little bit annoying. So I would give this one probably a 5 or 6. It's good, nothing crazy, but at the end I kind of feel like, yeah, okay, I feel like we've been here before. Episode 6, What If Kahori, or whatever, reshaped the world? This is the one that broke the internet. This is the one that broke Twitter, or the sexist people, I should say, on Twitter. I heard people throw their friggin' hands up in the air, right? I heard World War III for a little bit. Normally, World War III doesn't really happen with Marvel, right? It's more Star Wars. But for some reason, for certain people, men and probably women, whenever a woman is seen or heard or mentioned, or whenever a woman can do anything by herself, or if a woman is somewhat competent, people lose their freaking minds. They're like, oh my god, it's woke! Oh, there's a woman! And I'm like, dude, okay. So then I was kind of nervous. I'm like, oh, maybe Marvel went really woke here. Oh god, what's going on? And I watched it, and it was good. And I'm like, all right, why were people complaining about this? What the fudge, right? What's going on here? So Kahori, if you don't know, is an original character in this show. She's not in any comics, not in any movies, so calling this a what if is kind of weird because we don't really know about her yet. But Kahori is I'm going to F this up, some kind of tribe. She's like, maybe Mohawk tribe? I don't know. I'm probably going to sound like a racist fool, but I don't know I don't know the Indian people, so I don't really care if you get mad. I mean, whatever. I'm American, but at the same, why would I know that? But at the same time, it's kind of cool that okay, we're getting this, Indian Native American tribe, right? With Kahori, kind of reminded me of like Connor from Assassin's Creed 3, kind of like in that vein, right? And she's cool, and obviously, she's with her tribe, and they kind of fall into this fountain of youth, so to speak, right? and they get sucked into this place, and essentially what gives Kahori and all these other people in this area their blue power is the Tesseract, right? One of the Infinity Stones kind of falls in this area of the world, right, and kind of shatters and forms this big lake. So obviously people that fall into it get sucked into this other world, kind of like the Upside Down from Stranger Things, but they kind of turn into superpowered beings, right? And they can go really fast, like super speed, or they can jump really far, they can do athletic stuff, that kind of thing. And they're pretty cool. And when I was reviewing this episode, people were like, oh, she's powerful, and she's perfect, and she makes no mistakes, because she's a woman. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay. I swear to God, every single time people bitch online and call something a Mary Sue, they don't know what a Mary Sue means. So let me educate you. As a teacher, let me educate you. A Mary Sue, in fictional storytelling, right, in media, is a woman, or a female at least, who is perfect. As in literally, like, a female, okay, who cannot make a mistake. She is basically woman God, right? She's woman Jesus. She makes no mistakes. She's perfect, flawless. Yeah, that would be woke. Same thing if a man did it, right? That would be bad, because then there's no point in learning, right? People call Rey Skywalker Mary Sue, hint, she's not. People call, I don't know who else, Captain Marvel a Mary Sue, hint, she's not. People called Kahori a Mary Sue, hint, she's not. One of the first things she does is fail. And newsflash with a Mary Sue, if a woman fails at least one time, she is objectively, as in you can't argue, she is objectively not a Mary Sue, in that she made a mistake, she doesn't hit that stereotype anymore, right? That's out the window, it's gone. So Kahori makes a mistake, she tries to get back to the world, she puts these twigs up in the air, she tries to climb, she fails. Okay, that's fail number one. Okay, Mary Sue argument out the freaking window. Next. Alright, so she gets all these powers along with everyone else, and she's kind of going through the motions of, alright, well, again, kind of like Tony Stark, right? How do I get back? And you get that with, alright, well, you got to kind of do X, Y, and Z. And X, Y, and Z involves fighting a war. And she kind of has a moment of crisis where she's like, alright, well, how do I do that, right? And they're like, well, the other people in this Tesseract world are like, well, we don't really know, because we don't care. They're like, it's freaking paradise here. Why would you want to go back, right? We have all this crazy stuff. We run around like idiots chasing our food from bison or whatever. We can't die. We can't get hurt. It's like it's like the Garden of Eden, right? Like, it's paradise. And she's like, I want to leave this paradise and save my people from the Spanish or whatever and help them kind of, live. And obviously, I'm not even going to pronounce the other guy's name, but it starts with an A or an H, I think, probably an A. He kind of is another, side character, and he kind of helps Kahori out and, back into the world, and the episode kind of ends with this big battle on this beach area, right, where she's kind of like mowing down the Spanish forces and kind of, showing that they're not going to, take garbage from no one, right? They're going to retaliate. So I guess people thought she was a Mary Sue or poorly written because she's powerful, but there's a reason why she's it's clearly in the episode, and then she fails, and then she succeeds, but not because she's a woman. She succeeds because she has help from her friends, and she has powers that were clearly defined in the episode. So I think the whole woke outrage with this really has zero standing ground. I genuinely don't get it at all. Again, I used my brain. I used critical thinking skills, which is down the friggin' drain in 2026, and I was like, hey, this is what it is. Now, if it was woke or bad, I would tell you guys. I'm not like some kind of weird Kahori defender, right? Like, if I have a problem, I have a problem. I don't lie on this channel. But at the same time, they end the episode with Kahori and her buddies and all that kind of going throughout the world and kind of figuring out, okay, how are we going to stop this war, or stop this altercation, or stop this fight, right? So that's cool. Kahori kind of becomes her own character and helps her Tesseract buddies kind of liberate other people, which is interesting. And maybe we'll see more Kahori in the main canon Marvel world that we know. Who knows? But this one still is a pretty cool introduction to a brand new character. And, I think it's cool that we get the entire episode in... Now, I don't want to say their native tongue or their native language because I'm an American and I don't effing know how to speak that stuff. And I don't know if they're just making gibberish, right? They're just like, and it's like, oh, cool. Wow, Native American. I don't know if that's actually real Native American speech. I'm assuming because it's Marvel and, I don't think Marvel would want to piss off, I'm assuming, albeit small, but, portion of their audience by making gibberish instead of actual words. It's like when they speak Spanish and it's like, gibberish instead. It's like, that's kind of weird, right? Like, it just speaks Spanish. So I'm assuming it's real, but I have no proof of that. I mean, I'm a Google. You and I are a Google search away from figuring it out, but still, I'm assuming it's real. But it is cool that they actually committed to that and they have subtitles. I thought that was kind of cool. So this one probably gets like an 8 or a 9. I mean, I thought it was really good. I mean, I was really nervous going into it thinking, oh, they blew it and it's going to be a woke fest. But thankfully, Kahori's a well-rounded character. And, she's not like the goddess of the earth. She's not like the most perfect written character ever. But I think she's good enough for what she does. And they kind of handled that in a pretty good note. All right, next, 7. What if Hela found the 10 rings? So we're going back to Shang-Chi times with the Mandarin or whatever his name is. I forgot his name, but, that guy, Shang-Chi's father, Wenwu, I think it's Wenwu, yeah, Wenwu, and, we see Hela, of course, from Thor Ragnarok come back, voiced by Cate Blanchett, which I actually didn't know it was her. I thought it was just some imposter, so I don't know if that means she did a bad job, or what, but, I think, like, the quality of the voice acting is good, but I'm watching this episode, and I'm like, wow, this lady sounds kind of like Hela. And then I was like, oh, it is. Oh, that makes sense. And obviously, I know her from, Irina Spalko from Indiana Jones. She's Galadriel, and of course, she's Hela. She's other things, too, but that's what I know her as. And she does a good job. I think she has more personality to her, which was a little bit weird, because she has a quirky side in Ragnarok, but she's more like, I'm going to kill you, and, like, do a little baby joke, you know what I mean? Like, she's not, like, a massive queen of comedy. But in this, I felt like she was maybe a little bit too quippy. I don't know, maybe it's like a multiverse thing where it's like a different personality, I don't know, but I think she does a pretty good job voicing Hela, and she's got some really badass action scenes, really cool stuff, of course using the 10 rings and whatnot, and the different swords and spears, and, kind of having Hela in a not just sadistic, oh, I'm the goddess of death and I'm going to kill you, right? She starts off as that, and it kind of plays like a reverse Thor 1, right, where, like, Thor loses his hammer and, his armor and whatnot, and by the end of Thor 1, he kind of regains that, signifying he's changed as a person. Hela does the same thing, too, and I think that's really interesting that, she loses her hammer, she loses her, goddess of death armor, right, and she's kind of stripped of that title, and she kind of goes down to Earth and Midgard, right, and meets Wenwu and all that, and kind of, I don't want to say forms a relationship, but, maybe the start of one, and she kind of fights a war and kind of rebels against Odin, kind of seeing the evil that, maybe not the evil, but, what Odin wants, right? Odin wants these rings, and he wants, to kind of take over certain aspects, and Hela kind of grows as a character and says, hey, no, I'm going to stand and fight with Wenwu and these other guys, and, we're going to fight, and we're going to see what happens, and, of course, she wins, and really cool action, I should say, ensues. Really good action scenes in this one. Good story, good plot. Hela gets a really good redemption arc. Again, this is a different Hela than the one in Ragnarok, right? Different character, same character, but, different version of that character. In a different multiverse, and I think they kind of handled that really well in a fun way, right? Like, she's fun, she's cool, and it's cool to see Hela come back, because I think she's a good villain, but to see her actually kind of not be just a villain and, be something greater than what she thought she could be, pretty cool. Really good redemption story there. All right, we're just about done. 8. What if the Avengers assembled in 1602? Now, there is a Marvel 1602 comic book, and this one kind of I believe this one was actually rated PG instead of TV-14, which is weird because it's the same amount of violence, but whatever. Maybe just because there's not as many swearing in it, I don't know. But I think this one's fun. It's got a really cool premise where everyone's in, of course, the year 1602, so they're talking different and they're dressed different. And all that stuff. And obviously, we get the crazy events that happen because of the time period. And Captain Carter, of course, comes back, which is cool. Not just, well, I think Steve actually, I think Steve might show up in this one too. But they're kind of tackling these anomalies and different things that happen that kind of break their world. And Captain Carter has to stop them. And of course, the Bulk comes back and all these crazy things happen. It is cool to see Happy Hogan and all these Marvel characters speaking differently and using their different, accents or whatever, like tally-ho, lads, that kind of thing. And, it could get grating after a while, but I think, the 31 minutes or whatever, how long it runs is pretty decent time. There's not a whole lot to say about this one. I mean, Wanda comes back is cool, and there's a lot, the cool action scenes and all that. Nothing earth-shattering. I think this one's fine. Nothing insane, nothing really to talk about, really. There's not a whole lot going on, but Strange Supreme shows up in the end and kind of takes Captain Carter, and I think it's that episode. Captain Carter kind of falls in she falls in a hole in episode 5 with the Hydra Stomper. Captain Carter falls down like a rift or like a void in the floor, and we see her kind of needed for something, right, from Strange Supreme, and that finally gets paid off in this last episode. What if Strange Supreme intervenes? Strange Supreme sounds like a Taco Bell order, but whatever. So Strange asks Peggy to help with a common foe, and he's like, hey, I need you to help. And Kahori ends up kind of showing back up, which is cool. Kahori's back. And we see Peggy teaming up with her and a bunch of other characters as well. And surprise, surprise, Strange Supreme, the Taco Bell guy, is a bad guy. And he basically wants to bring his girlfriend back, right? Whatever her name was, Rachel or something. I don't know. What's her name? I don't know. But yeah, he tries to bring her back, right? Oh, and of course Captain Carter's like, you can't bring her back, Strange. She's dead. Let it go, bro. And he's like, no. And he freaks out and he starts, attacking people and rifting, taking energy from these dimensions and these other multiverses to kind of, bridge and make his world new again and get his girl back. And obviously, in the process, there's a part where he kind of loses his mind and goes crazy, and there's some really freaking good animation here where, I don't want to say it's horror, but there's some really good horrific elements with the zombies coming back and with Strange kind of going crazy, and there's a lot of really awesome, almost like 12 FPS, 12 frames per second. It's kind of like the Spider-Verse animation, kind of like that in the end where the Strange is going crazy. Of course, Strange Supreme dies or gets, defeated or whatever. He sacrifices himself to save his world to bring his girlfriend back, but he ends up dying in the process. So I don't know if this is the same Strange Supreme from Multiverse of Madness, but we'll have to see. But yeah, I think this was pretty cool. It's got some really good action scenes, a lot of good, through lines where characters kind of come back, which is cool. Of course, Captain Carter is kind of like the main catalyst or the main character of this season. So to see her come back is kind of cool as well, and kind of makes, maybe not as cohesively as season 1, but it makes this last episode of season 2 kind of feel more complete. Where okay, there is like a kind of a story. And it's not just random things each time. And I know it is an anthology where there are random things each time, but to see one character, come back and storylines kind of, come together in a cohesive way is still really cool in this show. And season 2 does it pretty well. Maybe not as good as season 1, but they do it pretty good in this too. And of course, Peggy Carter helps save the day with Kahori. And we find out that obviously Strange Supreme sacrificed himself and ends up saving his world, but dying in the process, apparently. Again, I have not seen season 3, but it ends on a pretty, good note, I'd say, where Captain Carter kind of is going on more adventures back to her time period, back to her main multiversal world, and in the process kind of going on these adventures with the Watcher, which is cool also. So yeah, pretty good season. I mean, maybe not as good as season 1. They're not, I don't think some of them, like the Christmas one or the Kahori, not the Kahori one, the Hydra Stomper one, some of these aren't as memorable as, for example, a few in season 1. But hey, it still is a good season. I think people really freaked the fudge out with Kahori. My God, people threw a fit over that for no reason. And yeah, I think that it's a good season, right? If I were to give this whole season probably like an F to an A+ scale, I'd probably give it like a B+ or an A-, something like that, right? It's very good. Is it flawless and, the best Marvel thing ever? No, but, it's good. And I think, if there are people out there that are discrediting What If as, oh, it doesn't count, or, oh, it's that animated show, or, oh, that's the one for kids, like, it's a very, very good show. It's very well written, great animation, good storylines, captivating episodes for the most part, and I'm excited to see what If Season 3 holds. Apparently this did so bad, though, in terms of like people watching season 3, that they they canceled it. They're like, we're done. What If is over, which is weird, right? Because if you're making a show like What If, technically there are, as the Watcher says, an infinite amount of realities. So really, Marvel, they should have had like a freaking brain blast, right? Or like the light bulb going off. Like if you're making an animated show called What If, based on the multiverse, you should have an infinite amount of content, right? Like, this should be a show that goes as long as the MCU is going, right? And for some reason, they canceled it. I know it's Disney Plus and it's, money and whatever, but, as a Marvel fan, it's really disheartening to see that, this is a show, and it's good, right? It's a good show that could continue for years and years and years and years and years, and they just effing canceled it. I know we got Marvel Zombies, which is also a What If thing, but still, I want a What If Season 4. I think that'd be kind of cool. I haven't even seen Season 3, but I want a Season 4, right? I think it's a good show, and there's a lot of good opportunities there. Now that we have X-Men and Fantastic Four and these, other characters that we could use, I think that'd be kind of cool. What if Deadpool joined the Avengers for real? Or what if, the Fantastic Four in the year 2099, I don't know. I mean, there's a million things you could freaking do. And it's really kind of crazy that they just decided to cut the cord like that. I know why, but still, it sucks. Anyway, let me down below in the comments what you think about What If Season 2. What's your favorite episode out of the 9? And, yeah, what do you like better, What If Season 1 or 2? Next up will be the Deadpool and Wolverine re-review. And then I believe I've got the Echo TV show, which I haven't seen yet, so that might take a minute to watch. But the MCU rewatch series is still going. It is not dead, I promise you. Again, I am teaching. I'm back at work, so, when I have time to watch these things and record these things, I will get them out. So don't think I forgot or whatever. But still, let me down below in the comments. Again, we'll talk everything What If down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. And again, let me know what your favorite out of these 9 are. And yeah, if I had a favorite, I don't know. I'd probably either say the Kahori one or it's Kahori, the Hela one, and the last one with Strange Supreme going crazy. I think those are probably my favorite. I did like them all for the most part. There really isn't like a straight up bad one. But if I had to pick a 3, I'd probably pick those 3. Anyway, let's talk anything What If down below. Next up, Deadpool and Wolverine. And I got some other videos coming up too. I got an unboxing video. I'm working on another edit relatively soon for John Wick and Ballerina. If you haven't seen my Star Wars one, go check that out. It's like the last video on my channel. It's incredible. I spent 8 hours on it. I'm really proud of it, and I think that you guys will love it if you haven't seen it. But yeah, let's talk everything Marvel down below. Can't wait to talk about Deadpool and Wolverine next. It's going to be a lot of fun to tackle that one again, because I had a lot of fun with that. But yeah, can't wait. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video. What if you subscribed?